Like you went live twice in a day. All right, I am going. So I created this document. I will put it in the chat for you all. Um, if you were in the group, I think it was last August, then this will be kinda a repeat or refresher for you. If this is your first time hearing this, I feel like it'll be really helpful. And this has been in the vault, but I don't know if it's been as noticeable. Y'all just know that I have on my list for the dissertation vault that I want to make that more visually appealing, but I am trying to practice that things get to be like there could be different iterations of a thing, right? So my perfectionism don't get the best of me. Let me share this with y'all. Okay, so we are going to be talking about committees. If you want to follow along, Virginia, let me know if you want a breakout room if this conversation is distracting. And I will put this here. Okay. That is the guide I will be looking at. So if you're curious when I pull it up, that is what I am. Child, I don't even know how to do a breakout room no more. Okay. Okay, create open rooms. All right, so if you need that, that's there. All right, let me share my screen. Don't judge me in all of my tabs, okay? This is a safe space. Is it safe? I hope so.
You're good. We listen and we don't judge.
Hold on, let me do this. I judge me. But I would say this is actually decent compared to what it normally looks like. So I ain't gonna judge myself too harshly. All right. I just didn't want to do this whole like double camera situation. All right, y'all. Okay, so dissertation committees. This is one of those things that I remember creating, I don't know, probably like almost like 8 years ago. And I had this thought, I was like, do people know how to select a committee? Like, I feel like it's one of those things in a program where people will say, like, I don't know, like it's assumed that you just know how to select committee members or you know how to manage them. But I don't feel like there's a lot of formalized support. So some of the things I'm going to talk about today, you might be like, girl, I know that, move on. But I just want to make sure we're all on the same page. And any feedback you have, let me know if anything to be added to this guide. But this is something that has been growing over the past 8 years in many different iterations. It used to just be like the chair communication guide, but I realized we need to talk about the whole committee because people got different roles and whatnot, and I don't want to assume that you know. So your dissertation committee, I like to think about them as a group of colleagues who are tasked in helping you to ensure that however you're designing a research project that you are focusing on for your dissertation is sound. Like, does it make sense? Is it logical? And that they're guiding you by reinforcing what you have learned in your various research courses or experiences. This is your first time, many of you, designing a research project from start to finish. And so it is not fair to expect that you know what to do or you like just because you did some assignments or whatnot, or maybe you have some practice projects. It doesn't mean that you know how to do the dissertation. And so these group of people ideally are going to help you with the research part, but it's also, I treat it like, I think about it more like a mentor-mentee type situation. Your dissertation defenses, both your proposal and your final defense, is really the intention behind it is, hey, y'all, I have this idea. I'm thinking about doing it this way, but what do you think? And then the final defense is like, okay, this is what we said, this is what we came up with a few months ago. This is what I actually did. This is what happened. What do you think about what I found and how I put this together? Like, it's meant to be more like a think tank. It is not meant to be this place you go to prove that you did research 1000% the correct way. Because how can you be perfect at a thing you've never done before? And does perfection even exist, but we can come back to those conversations in a minute. Committee can be made up of about like 3 to 5 individuals. It depends on your program. It depends on your culture, your program's culture. It also depends on your chair's preferences. So the first person who makes up a committee is your chair. This is the primary facilitator, keeping everybody on track. Your chair's job is to make sure you keep moving forward. Your chair holds the most power in this committee. I don't care who you go get for your other committee member slots, your chair holds the power. I need to say that. Your chair signature is the one that matters the most because they're the one who is going to be with you more on a day-to-day basis. Their name is going on your work. Your other committee members go there too, but the name that's first is your chair. You will be on their CV. You will be a part of whatever their legacy may be, their lineage, the language we use. Sometimes it's colorful, but your chair is that person. Now, I don't say that to mean that you have to do whatever your chair tells you to do. Now, some people may believe that. I don't. I'm saying that to say that, and I might be jumping a little bit ahead, but I want to make this clear. You are to work with your chair exclusively, going back, getting your proposal to a place where it's about 80 to 90% done. In general, your chair will not want you to meet with the rest of the committee until you're at that place. So me saying that your chair holds the most power is I'm trying to communicate to you that your chair is going to be very protective of the process. And one of the ways that that protection may show up is they may tell you, please do not share anything or communicate with any part of the committee until we get to a place. That is not from necessarily from a place of ego or trying to like hold you back. It's from a place of protection. And just know that I'm speaking in general. And I get that some of you may have different circumstances or situations with your chair, your committee, but just know I'm talking from a general point of view. Okay. Let me know if you have questions about that. The next person that usually folks will select for a committee is a methodologist, methods person, maybe someone who is familiar with any instruments you're using, etc. The methodologist is there to ensure are the methods make sense. Are you in alignment with what you identified as the problem, as the purpose, and with your questions? Does it make sense that you're collecting the data that you're collecting in the way that you're collecting it? That's what their role is. Now, you may also have a content expert, someone who's like, I don't really know what you're doing over there with the data part, but as far as how this happens, like as far as like what the literature has to say about it, or someone who does a lot of research around your topic area, or maybe with the population you're working with, that's what this person will be there to guide you primarily as their role, which may be different, but doesn't have to be, but may be different than a practitioner. So in this case, when I say a content expert, I'm thinking of someone who regularly engages in scholarship. And when I'm thinking of a practitioner, they're mostly engaged in the day-to-day practice. Like they're in the field, they're doing the day-to-day work of it. They may engage in research, but their primary focus is practice. These two people understand your topic in two different ways. I just want to say that. A content expert versus a practitioner, they may say the same words, but they may mean different things depending on these two individuals. And then some programs will have what they call a reader. I think about this person as I'm here so I don't get fined. I'm not really here to do any heavy lifting. I'm just here to make sure your rights are protected, that people are following the process as it has been intended. And sometimes you'll get a reader who's like, no, I'm here to just ensure that this document makes sense. That they could be, usually there's someone completely outside. They have an objective view of your process, of your program. They're not getting caught up in the politics of it all. They're like, I'm just here to read and ask some general questions. I'm like the control person over here. And then some of you may choose to go get an outside committee member. This could be someone from a different program, a different college, different institution. Maybe they are not even in higher ed whatsoever. Maybe they are community member. Maybe it's a family member. Like I've seen so many combinations of who can be an outside committee member. When I think about myself, my outside person was someone who used to be faculty in the program, but they had moved on to another institution. And so I just had to do some paperwork. Usually, if you're working with someone who's outside of your program or your institution, there's usually a few forms you need to complete for the graduate school and just making sure this person is who they say they are and that they have a clear role on your committee. Like I said, most committees are about 3 to 5 individuals. If you're asking me for my opinion, I would tell you just keep it at 3. All right. Because when you start adding more people, now you got different uh, 4, 5, 6 different types of expectations of what this process is, 5 different ways of how you could approach it, 5 different forms of feedback you got to incorporate. And why don't you just keep it to 3? Because that's cute. You know, you can manage that. It's easy to get an agreed upon time for defenses and whatnot, and it makes it easier for you just in terms of the workload. Different programs have different rules, but if you have a say so, I say keep it closer to 3. Now, in general, I'm going to go over some things about how you select these individuals, but I'm going to tell you that for me, I wasn't so concerned about can these people technically help me. I selected committee members based on what is our relationship. Because I know some of y'all know my story, but by the time I made it to the dissertation, I was like, most of y'all don't like me. So most of the faculty, you don't like me, don't even talk to me. So I don't even care about it being technical. I need people with good energy on my committee because I feel like I'm already working uphill. I'm fighting an uphill battle, and I don't need to fight you in your stank attitude. So if you can't be a cheerleader, if you don't understand what I'm about to do in this research, because it's not going to be your basic qualitative project. If you're going to be over here acting up, you can't be on this committee. That was what I said in my head. Now, I didn't go to them and say that, but I just need you to know the energy I was operating off of. I want you to make a decision that's best for you and how you figure out who will be on your committee. The easy button is just to ask your chair who they like working with and who they suggest to be on your committee. That's the easy button. It may not necessarily be easy for you, but again, it'll be easy for your chair because especially if they are more seasoned, they'll know who they like working with. They will have strong opinions. Either way, do not ask anyone to be on your committee without running it by your chair first. Because what did I say? Your chair holds the most power. And if they don't get along with these people, you're going to have bigger problems than trying to get a dissertation passed. Okay. Because politics are a real thing and people are people at the end of the day. They don't get along. That does show up in your process, but I'm not trying to scare you. All right. So, how do you select a chair? Some programs I get you're assigned a person, but if you have any say so, I guess the obvious first step is, or first place you can start is, do they have expertise in your topic? Like, are they familiar with either your topic, the type of research you want to do, methodology or methods? When I think about my chair, it's important that she understood qualitative research, she understood critical qualitative research design, and that she was not going to get in my way. Which my chair was, she was like, girl, you can go harder. I was like, I want to graduate. But like she understood qualitative research and she also understood my topic, even though it wasn't like a major research area for her. She understood it enough to know, like, she's like, I trust you. I trust you. You want to look for someone, if you can, someone who is in alignment with your working style. Some chairs like to meet with you every week and they want to see every paragraph you write. Some chairs are like, do not show me a thing until it's finished. Don't show me a chapter until it's complete. Don't show me a proposal until it's complete. You got to know you. Do you need someone who's going to be more hands on? Do you need someone who's more like, you got it, I trust you? What type of support do you need? Is it more important for you that your chair can look at your drafts and give you detailed feedback? And what type of feedback? Is it more about like grammar mechanics? Is it about feedback on the literature you're using? Is it feedback on like the formatting, like APA? Your chair, that's not their job to give you feedback. I feel like I need to do a PSA for tonight. Okay, I'm gonna let you know that it's gonna be hard for me to stay on track because y'all know it's Thursday night and I already said I was sleepy, so you're welcome. I need to do this PSA for somebody. It is not your chair's job to look at your drafts and give you feedback. If they do that, it's a courtesy, but they're not required. Let's just let that sit for a minute. They are not required to give you feedback. Like detail, like reading your draft after draft, they're not required to do that. Their job is to make sure, okay, are you meeting in general the expectations of research? Sounds good, but they don't have to give you feedback. They don't have to meet with you a certain number of times. They don't really have to say, like, they don't have to sit with you and be like, you're doing it right. If you have a chair that is more hands on and who does that for you, I want you to know they're doing that out the goodness of their heart because of their values, not because they're required by a position description. I want to say that because I'm not trying to be mean, but I'm also trying to be clear that sometimes programs, when they're marketing to you and they want to recruit you into it, they're like, oh, yeah, our faculty are hands on. They'll make up all types of promises. But how this process is designed, that's not their job. Their job is to look at your document and say if you're ready for defense or not. That's it. I'm also saying that for people who are like, my chair is not doing anything. They're not doing their job. Yes, they are. Yes, they are. And that might be a hard pill to swallow, but they are. Okay. We can come back to that if we need to talk it out. But I felt that in my spirit that somebody needed to know that, mm-mm. Um, I love a chair that's indifferent. Usually when I'm working with folks and we're at that point, like if they're like, who should my chair be? And especially if you're looking around and you're like, oh, I don't really like the options, go for the indifferent chair. When I say an indifferent chair, I mean someone who's like, maybe they're close to retirement. Maybe they got tenure already. You're like their 15th, 20th student. They just here. Go to that person. Why? Because if I go back to their job isn't to give you this detailed feedback and to do all these things. What you want most of all is a person who is not going to get in your way of graduating. You want a person who's like, yep, this is an educational exercise. We're moving on. I am not saying this because you want to put out like piss poor work. I'm saying this to say that the dissertation isn't meant to be your best work. The dissertation is an assignment and you just have to complete some steps and move on to graduation. You're going to have your entire career to do your life's work, but your dissertation is an assignment. So let's go find the faculty person who understands that it's an assignment and who wants to make sure you do meet the expectations of it, but they're not going to be getting in your way being like, this has to be published worthy and you got to do all of this. Nope, I just need to do what's being asked of me. Let me pause. Reactions, thoughts, questions. Where are we? I feel like I just started going in and I want to take a moment.
I mean, you provided clarity. You stomped on my chest a bit, but because I mean, it makes me really think about chairs, what they're supposed to do versus what they don't do. I mean, and then that is shed light. I mean, my chair does provide feedback, so that's like, oh, that's a value. I hadn't really thought about it that way. So, and it just made me think about like all of my committee members and also really reading body language in words or things that they don't say. Because I know when it came to picking committee members, I've noticed, and not just with me, but I've noticed when she had like her meeting with all of us, the way her face goes when the body language she gives when there's this one professor's name that's mentioned. And I was like, note to self, she's done that before. It wasn't me, but I was like, they might not get along. So, and she politely had that person like, she found a way to say pick somebody else, but I was like, I don't think they get along, because there used to be a person in high school that would tell all the black that was black, that would tell all the black people who got along and who didn't, but they gone. So like now you just hope for the best. So get it, just context.
Yes, yeah, and there's a lot of like political things that your chair might not be able to or may not feel comfortable sharing with you, but like Chris is saying, oh, you're gonna feel the energy. Like something's not quite right with the two of you. And you want to find that out way before you get into a defense. That's why it's important that you run by your chair like, hey, I'm thinking about these people. Yay, nay, with some reservations. How we feeling? Any other reactions, thoughts, questions?
So, Dr. Lacy,
yes.
When I chose my chair, I was thinking of the person that I felt like I connected to most in my program and who I thought would be a big cheerleader for me. And this was the person that I felt like if I got in this program, he's going to make sure I graduate. And so I chose him as my chair. But then regarding my committee members, I actually chose my methodologist first. And then the person who was supposed to be my content expert is actually, she specializes in the same methodology. So I'm not sure if that's going to create some friction on the team. My chair pointed that out to me after she said yes. And I'm hoping that it's going to be smooth sailing, but I see them both pushing back on him because he's a quant person and they're both qualitative people. So it's going to be interesting just to see the dynamics of the group once they all start working together.
Yeah, I mean, and there's some things that you can do, right? Like in preparation for the defense. I think in particularly like your example, making sure everyone is clear that I am using this methodology. The person, you said they're using it or they created it. Whoever that person.
That's what they specialize
That's what they special.
Yeah.
And so it's just sharing that across the two of them, being like, you know, you both have a strong background in qualitative research, which is big, like a big reason why I asked for you to be on the committee. This person specializes in it, and you are technically labeled as the methodologist, but I'm hoping that the four of us can work together. And you may just have to reiterate that multiple times because people will forget. Egos do happen because, I mean, academics, it's just what it is. And I would say to be prepared more so for you. Usually when you're working with people who specialize in a thing or they created the methodology, they can get territorial. And you may make some adjustments to how you utilize it in your research, and they may get a little iffy. So I would say first work with your chair and ask him his comfort level around you communicating with the two of them before leading up to the defense, just about how you plan to utilize the methodology. And that should help as you get into the defense. But yeah, most people, especially when it comes to the proposal defense, they're just open. They're just trying to see how you put it together. And then it should feel like a conversation between the four of you of just like, what's the best outcome for this study? I can also see them pushing back on the number of participants, but that is more for your chair and not you. And if that does happen, keep this locked away in the back of your mind. If that does happen during the defense, your job is to drink your water and smile. You don't have nothing to say. You don't contribute to the conversation. You like, just tell me what the number is. And I'm going to be right here. I will write it down on this piece of paper. And the reason why is because it's like they need to have their little, I don't know what the term is, but they just need to do it amongst themselves. And if you get involved, like there's another conversation happening that ain't got nothing to do with you, is what I'm saying. There's a conversation underneath the conversation.
Yeah, I made a
Yeah.
note to stay out of.
Yep. Danielle.
You had mentioned like it's not their job to give us feedback, and then I know you previously coached us on just turn it in and let them do their jobs. And I know there's a fine line between that, but I just wanted to see if you could articulate like where's the line between letting them do their jobs and what is their job versus what isn't their job.
I appreciate you, Gemini. I love it. Okay. I say that to say, y'all, like, not to make this an astrology conversation, but Geminis are really good at breaking things down. So if you ever need someone to help you chunk a thing down or break it down in its individual parts, find you a Gemini and they will be very technical. Okay, thank you. No, it's a great question. So no, technically they're not required to give you feedback, like detailed feedback. However, they are required to tell you if you meet the expectations or the requirements to go to your defense. So your proposal defense or your final defense. When I say give them your turn in your draft so they can do their job, what I'm asking you to do is turn in a draft so that they can articulate clearly what they expect of you. Because in the beginning, right, you're going to go to your chair, you're going to be like, oh, I'm so excited. I'm ready to do this dissertation. And I'm like, okay, let me see something. Give me something. And you may be looking for them to tell you exactly how to approach the proposal or what needs to be included or how, like, what needs to be in each chapter. Like, you might be looking for more detailed guidance. And people can say, go read other dissertations or look at the program outline and use that to get you started. But they, at the same time, they have a certain way that they expect it to look. A proposal does include, like traditionally does include like an introduction, a literature review, a methodology chapter. But there's so many ways that you can write that. There's so many ways you can format it, right? You might use certain type of literature that they may not be familiar with, or you may choose to be more creative in how you present those chapters, but you don't know if it meets their expectations or not. And the only way to know that is to submit your work to them. And when they give you feedback, the comments, the track changes is them articulating to you what they expect. Let me take this another level. The dissertation is your time as a student to learn to not see feedback as if did I do this right or did I do this the wrong way, right? Because when you're in courses, you're looking for a grade. Whenever you submit a written assignment, you're like, what grade did I get? In dissertating or research, it's no longer about grades as it is about, is my research design in alignment? And wherever I plan to submit this research, does it fit their expectations? Where you're submitting it in this case is to your chair. But most people, most humans are not great at articulating. I expect you to write a proposal that looks like this and that has these elements. We're better at critiquing something that already exists. So when you go give them a chapter, they can say, I like these parts, I don't like these parts, or I thought you would add a table here. And you're like, oh, I didn't know to add a table. Let me go add a table. So then they can articulate to you what they expect to see and what would meet their expectations to go into the defense. That's not a one size fit all. Every chair is not made the same. Everybody has a different philosophy. And so when I say let them do their job, I mean give them your shitty draft so then they can tell you what they like and what they don't like, and you can address what they like and don't like and get to the defense faster than you sitting at a table in your home spinning your wheels trying to guess what they want to see. And just because your homegirl's chair wants them to write their methods chapter a certain way doesn't mean that your chair wants you to do the same thing, even if y'all are in the same program. So I felt like that needed to be a PSA for somebody as well. But was that clear? And did that answer your question, Danielle?
Yeah, I put a finer point on it, and I think that'll help the recording later on because I know somebody out in the ether is going to ask that. So
yeah, no, it was a great question. Thank you. And thank you for allowing me to take a little jab at a Gemini. Would I be a Sagittarius if I didn't do that? You know? Okay. Anybody else?
Listen, I'm your resident Gemini for a reason. I love you too, Dr. Lacy.
Dr. Lacy,
Yes.
I need your help. I feel like things have been going pretty well with my chair. We've talked probably like once a month. I haven't received any input, but she hasn't said anything negative. You know, she just kept saying, go to the next chapter. The beginning of January, I turned in a revised complete proposal of the first 3 chapters. I waited a couple of weeks to get a response, didn't hear anything. The end of January, I followed up with an email just saying, let's meet, you know, I want to know next steps and talk about timeline and everything like that. Didn't hear anything, called her, left her a voicemail message, didn't hear anything, waited a couple days, called her again, left another voicemail message. You know, I'm working on my PowerPoint for my committee to defend my dissertation to them. But what do you do in a situation like this? I feel like anything I do is not good.
Like, when you say anything I do is not good, tell me more about what that means.
I feel like, you know, she could be ill. I mean, I'm thinking the worst of things. She
Oh,
could
okay.
be very busy. You know, if I wait, I just keep getting more and more anxious. You know, do I contact someone else from the school and that looks like I go above her head? Do I contact someone else from the committee, which I don't think is a good idea? I just feel stuck, and it's hard for me to think outside of my anxious stuff.
Yeah. This is a perfect segue into this next section. And so what I'm going to say is Kristen put a great idea in the chat of seeing if she has office hours, and either if you can attend them doing that or trying to contact her during those office hours. And 2, at this point, I would say it has elevated to where you will have to include other people. Immediately in my head, I was like, wellness check. I would send an email of like a wellness check, and I would CC someone in the department, multiple someones in the department, just to say, hey, just checking in to see, is Dr. So-and-so on contract this semester? So this is language you can use. Is she on contract this semester, or is she taking a sabbatical? Or a leave of absence of some sort. I'm just trying to get in communication with her to schedule some time, right? You don't have to say like, I did all these things and I haven't heard back. You could just say, I'm just trying to get in contact with her, right? You can leave it that general when you're CCing other people. Because if you've called, because I want you to think about this, you've called the phone, you've sent emails, you've sent work, you haven't heard back, it is perfectly reasonable to be like, oh yeah, a wellness check, or to start contacting other people. This is not the same situation as, you know, I sent an email 2 days ago and she didn't respond, and so I CC'd the whole department. That's not what you're doing. It's coming from a place of genuine concern and ensuring that you are able to make the progress that you need to make. Because at the end of the day, Michelle, like, you are paying to be in a program where you're not getting the assistance. You're paying in some form for hours, right? And I don't know if you have some sort of assistantship or it's different funding. Either way, though, a check is being cut. And you can't do what you need to do if you're not hearing back. So I hope that helps. And let me know as we go through this if you have further questions. Great segue. This is why inside of Finish Your Dissertation, I ask you to communicate weekly with your chair. Every week, it could be an email. It don't got to be that deep. An email, but at least once a month, meeting with them, whether that's virtually, in person, on the phone, but making sure that in real time, y'all are connecting at least once a month. Not only will this help you to be accountable to your timeline and your goals, but it also ensure that you're getting some sort of regular, consistent feedback from them. And in the situation where things go left, because things do with humans, you have all your receipts. Right. So if you have been emailing every week and you've been meeting with them every month and they try to play in your face, and you sometimes you may have to escalate this all the way up to like a formal grievance and it's a whole situation. You know what you're showing up with? Receipts. You know what they can't say? Well, I didn't hear from them or I don't even know what's going on. You're like, no, actually, because I sent you these emails, because I asked to schedule with you, because I've been submitting work to you consistently every month. This is a you problem, not a me problem. Also, if you are someone who is going to be asking for an extension, or maybe you need to take a leave of absence, a lot of the time your program administration, they won't come to you to follow up on your application or your request. They will usually go to your chair first and they'll say, hey, what can you tell me about this student? If your chair don't have any information, what are they supposed to say? They're just going to tell the truth. I don't know. I'm not really sure. I heard some things we spoke, last year, but I haven't heard it from them. Whereas if you're sending an email or some sort of like small, like weekly update, they know exactly what's going on with you. And here's what I have found, like doing this and being in this group and asking folks to do this. When things go left for you, like life starts lifing for you, and you say you miss a deadline or you're unable to, you say you're going to turn in the literature review last week, but now it's another week has passed and you haven't been able to do it because life is lifing. They're more willing to give you the benefit of the doubt. They're more willing to be like, oh, okay. No, I understand. Like, because I know you to be someone who's very communicative, and I know that for you to miss a thing, there must be something that's really happening. You can never over communicate. I don't even care if your chair is like, please don't talk to me. Girl, I'm going to still send you this email because it's not about you. Like, not you. It's not about them. It's about you. That's what I'm trying to say. But I've seen so many different scenarios, and there's nothing like being a student and being like, oh, no, I have all my receipts. You're going to have to do something different. And because you are active, it makes people approach your process differently. Because whether it's from a place of frustration or a place of they're excited, they're still going to show up for you because you are in their face. But I have seen that it's more been the situation where a chair is excited because you do communicate so much, because they do know what to expect from you. And they know that if they had a question about what's going on with you, they can easily find that information. And that makes them more excited, probably more excited than you want them to be, because then they get really involved in your project. Your dissertation becomes their dissertation. And now you're like, hey, what are we doing? Why you so excited? Why are you not treating me like a regular student? Because you made it easy to work with you. So I'm off my soapbox. I created a weekly progress report for the times that we don't meet. I send it in an email with links and updates. Of course you do. I love it. Of course you do. And I know your chair loves it as well, because I know you've mentioned a lot, Ashley, that she has a lot going on, but she loves meeting with you. This is why you make it easy for her to show up for you. This is a life lesson. Okay, I said I was going to get off the box. I'm back on. This is a life lesson, y'all. And it's something I have to constantly remind myself. When you make it easy for people to show up for you, when you make it easy for them to help you, they want to go above and beyond. But when you say, here's an example. When you say you're working on your methods chapter, and let's say you're sending it to your friend, and you're like, hey, can you look at this for me? I don't know what to do with that. Okay, I got a baby hanging off of me. It's the middle of February. The world is on fire. Did you see the news yesterday? And now I got your email in front of me that says, can I look at this? But I'm not really sure what you mean when you say look at this. Versus when you send me an email in your methods chapter, you say, hey, can you go to my theoretical framework and just make sure that it makes sense? Like you understand what I'm saying? Oh, let me do that for you right now because I know you made a clear ask and I know exactly what you need me to do. Do y'all hear the differences in the examples? This is what I'm asking you to do on a week to week basis with your chair because in this check in, which is probably down here somewhere, in this check in, you're just gonna ask them. It's not here. You're gonna say like, hey, this is what's going on. Here's my this is what I'm working on for this week. Here's where I think I'm getting stuck. So if you have any resources about this, let me know, or any advice about these things, let me know. Here's what you can expect from me from the end of the month, because my one thing for February is to finish my Mentis chapter. So I will have a full draft for you by the 26th. And that's it. Talk to you next week. And here's the final thing I'll say before I go to you, Ashley. Someone who models this very well, and they don't know that I have a whole document of things that I would like for them to present on. But Chris will do every week. I get a message from Chris that says, hey, Dr. Lacy, it's my favorite thing. And just an update of like, here's what's going on. Here's where I'm at. This is what the committee said. I'm over it. I quit for today. And then Chris comes back tomorrow. He's like, I don't quit. I was just playing. But here's what I got going on. And those messages make it easy for me to know where Chris is, how to support, and if I even need to support, because a lot of times you're just giving me updates, right? You're not even asking me a direct question or asking me to do anything, but I'm willing to bet like you communicating with me, Dr. I, and your committee keeps you going. It keeps you on track. Okay. Ashley, what you got for us?
That is something similar to that. That's exactly, I remember one time, and you had me laughing. You said that if you make it easy for them, then sometimes they'll be so willing to help you that they might even send you something in the wee hours of the night, and they might, you like, oh, you thinking about me during that time? Because that's exactly what happened one time around the time when you said it in one of our meetings. She sent me, my chair sent me an email, and she said, hey, look at this article. And it was like several articles. She was like, I thought about you, and this fits your topic, and you can include this in your paper if you need to. And she said, and look at this stuff. And she just had all these little bullets. And I was thinking like, dang, like, thank you for thinking about me at 10 o'clock at night, you know?
Yeah.
I just saw a different article, and it might be because of what you just said that I make it easy. I didn't think I was making it easy, but I see what you mean. And also I give her the same what you described, what Chris does for you. I've done that too. I'll send her like a text and say, hey, this is just an update. This is what's going on. You know, I was able to make some progress in X, Y, and Z. Sometimes I add a question, sometimes I don't add a question, and then she'll send a text back saying, oh, I love these updates. Thank you. Keep it going. And then, you know, we keep it going. And one of the things she had mentioned to me one time when we were talking is that she said, I don't need that much time to be able to read your work because I already know what's going on, you know, so when I read it, I'm already aware. I don't have as many questions because we have already discussed this, and you're even putting it in the paper. So I know that you know what I want. And so I just want to just confirm to everybody else who might not think about like, dang, you know, is Dr. Lacy, what she's saying is true? It is true, you know, what she's saying, because I've seen it, I've lived it. And thank you for confirming, Dr. Lacy, that I'm at least going down the right path for that. Yeah. And I did take in what you said the other day too about, you know, just taking what's being said to me at face value. And so I'm trying to live that as well. So thank you.
Thank you. Because, you know, you just help some people. Because when I tell people to do this, they're like, what? I'm like, listen, it's gonna help you in the long run. And so thank you for that. And Kristen, you know, I did kind of go in on you last night, but it was out of love, you know. And look at you having Saturday morning meetings.
I'm gonna take it as love. No, I'm just kidding. We're done though. I just have to do my Grammarly check tomorrow, then I'm sending it off.
Okay. I was getting notifications today. I was like, oh, we're back at it. We're working. Um, okay, y'all. If you haven't done this for the spring semester, let's do this month. So I would suggest that every spring and fall semester you do a check-in. I don't care if you like, I have an amazing relationship with my chair. This is about making sure that boundaries stay in place. Because in this case, when I'm talking about boundaries, um, a lot of times as you get closer to your chair, or maybe you all have a relationship where you work on different projects, or maybe you're their assistant, like their grad assistant, their research assistant, and boundaries can get blurred. And usually what I've seen is that your chair enjoys working with you so much that they forget that you are a student who's learning how to do this for the first time. And so they may not be as hands on or guide you through the dissertation process as they would another student, not because they don't like you or they don't care about you. It's the opposite. Actually, they have such deep trust in your ability to get this done that they might not realize, like, nope, you still need help. That someone can be highly capable, knowledgeable, and still not be very clear in this process. So every semester, just check in with them. You want to ask them, you want to be like, hey, girl, hey, are you going to be here this whole semester? Are there going to be any significant times you're going to be away? When do you get off a contract? Like, when is your last day for the semester? Why do you need to know this? It's because, especially if you are planning to defend, you would need to know what time you have available for defending. Now, if you have a type A chair, they probably gave you these dates months ago. But if you don't have a type A chair, you want to ask them, you going to be on sabbatical? Like, I've had many of students be like, my chair just went on sabbatical. It didn't tell me anything. I was going to defend. We need to have a meeting like this, right? Because there's so much that happens, y'all. Communication it can be complicated. You also want to clarify what are their boundaries or philosophies when it comes to giving writing feedback or overall dissertation expectations. So you want to ask them, like, is there a certain like time turnaround? Usually is the thing that people find they want to know the most information about. So if you give your chair a draft, is it going to take them 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 2 days to review it and give it back to you? Like, typically, what's their turnaround time? Do they review? Like, if this is a first time meeting, do they review drafts? If they review drafts, like, what do they look for? What are they specializing in? Are they specializing in like APA? Or are they more a stickler for like my chair was like, is your writing explicit? Like, that would be the main type of feedback I would get. But you need to know, like, we specialize in different things. So just getting a general understanding. I would also ask them for any past dissertations or manuscripts that they feel like best meet their standards of research and writing. Because they can tell you to go look up dissertations. Like, no, I want you to give me an example that you feel like best met your expectations. Because at least you can get a sense of the writing style or the formatting. And then make sure you let them know what you are planning to do timeline wise. And doing this every semester, because life happens, things change. And just because y'all had a conversation in passing about it doesn't mean they remember. I'm asking you to actually put this on paper so that they have a written a receipt of it, if you will, of this is when you're trying to defend, propose, graduate, etc. Okay. I would ask you to schedule your monthly meetings all up at once and get on their calendar, because especially in this time of year, we're about to go into conference season, and getting on people's calendars can be extremely challenging. But if you just go ahead and be like, can we just get 4 dates? At least you know it's locked in. Even if you have to reschedule, at least it's on the calendar. Now, if you have a chair like Marie's, you got a whole syllabus, so you don't even have to worry about it. Okay. You're going to meet regularly and you know exactly what to do every meeting. Shout out to that chair, because it's a whole syllabus with readings and everything. I love it. But if you don't have a type A chair or someone who hasn't done this process a lot, you want to ask these questions. You don't want to assume. Before the meeting, like I said, schedule these, prepare an agenda. This don't got to be too deep. You can ask big homie ChatGPT to help you with this, but you want to set an agenda, because again, this is about making sure you have as much as possible written down. because we need the receipts. And if you like each other and y'all tend to like talk about everything but the dissertation, at least this will help keep you on track. Okay. During the meeting, don't forget to bring your otter or whatever recording device that's going to help you to keep track. You don't need to spend the entire meeting trying to take detailed notes. You want to use your time and your energy for being like in the conversation, being present and calming your nervous system down. I'm going back on the soapbox. A lot of you get really nervous when you meet with your chair, and that's understandable. Because it can come with so much heightened emotions, this is not the time to try to take all the notes or do everything yourself. You want to make things as automated as possible so that you can focus on breathing, staying calm, and remembering your questions. The reason why I'm asking you to prepare ahead of time is so that you can stay calm and make sure you get your answers that you need. So many people meet with their chair and they're like, yep, it sounds so good. Yeah. And it does sound real good and clear while y'all are in the meeting, but then you go to your next writing session and you're like, I have no idea. I don't even know. Like, I thought I understood, but I don't even know what I'm supposed to do. You can look back at your notes in the transcript. And then after the meeting, following up. Now, if you are in a, this is more so for my friends who have a more tenuous relationship, I guess I'll say, with your chair, follow up with an email. But like, I just want to be clear. You said you're going to do this. I'm going to do this. This one we said we're going to do it by. So, Michelle, I would put you in this category. Hey, girl, remember at our last conversation, you said we were going to do this. Okay, so you can have a written document about that. Okay, we meet on Zoom. I saved the transcript. Yes, you can absolutely meet on Zoom and hit the captions button, and the transcript will be there. I think can you get the transcripts without hitting that button? I don't know.
You have to set your Zoom room up.
Oh, okay.
This transcript I learned.
Oh, okay. Thank you. I love it. You said you pull up on her every time she was. Wait, didn't you say that, or did I miss that meeting? Okay. The way I would pull up on Jennifer's house if she randomly went on sabbatical. My chair, she got off a contract one summer and was in the mountains. The way I was at her house, like, girl, what do you mean you leaving? No, I'm here, and I'm here for dinner. I hope you cooking. That's how I ended up meeting with my chair multiple times a week. She was always cooking. I'm like, I'm here. No, I didn't do nothing about my dissertation, but I'm here to eat. Okay, I looked up her dissertation. Which is a good idea. You can look up your chair's dissertation or any manuscripts that they published. It'll also give you an idea of their writing style. I gave them that, and they said, we aren't going to sign off or give you word on that until we see work. Your timeline, Danielle, that's what you gave them. And they were like, nah, literally need you to say that again about my nervous system. Yeah, y'all, like, there's so much that comes up when you're meeting with your committee and your chair, because your nervous system sees your committee as a source of authority. I don't know what your relationship is to authority, but if you have any like past traumas or past experiences that have shaken you a little bit, that may come back up when you go meet with your committee. Even if you intellectually understand that they are supportive or they're not the same people of your past, some of you have had different chairs before, different advisors. Some of you have had some really hard situations with past faculty. Just because you know that the person you're working with now is not the same person, your nervous system does not know that. Your nervous system sees this as the same situation and it is confused. Why are you going into a dangerous situation? Why are you talking to a dangerous person when you remember what happened last time? That's what your nervous system is going to say. So you need to be able to devote as much time and energy as possible to being calm and regulating yourself. And one of the ways that will help you to do that is preparing as much as ahead of time as possible, or preparing your questions or thinking through what would make this meeting with them a win. What information do I ideally really like need to know, and writing that down, no matter how silly you think it is. Again, it's better to over communicate than not get what you need. every week, we talked about like sending an email. You can send the same email. You can copy and paste if that's what you need. But this is just about letting them know what you've been up to and any questions and any work that you might be turning in. Um, I put a little list here. You can remind them of your 12-week goals. You can remind them of your one thing progress. You can ask for any support or feedback. You can ask them for questions, deadlines. You can remind them, like, hey, you said you were going to do this letter of recommendation for me. Because again, they're humans and they have a lot going on and they may need a lot of follow-up. Okay. I put a email in here for you in case. Listen, I'm of the mind like I'm not going to assume because sometimes we need some guidance. You can go ahead and copy and paste this and put this in somebody's AI and write an email to your chair and to get these meetings scheduled. That's what that email is for. Here's an example agenda. I would put all of this on there and I would send it to them ahead of time. Why? Because you can go ahead and think through these questions. You could, in fact, you could probably respond to me in writing and then we can just have the meeting to like connect with one another. But when you send somebody an agenda like this, you know what message it sends? You mean business. Like, you serious. Y'all, I cannot express to you enough how a lot of this Thursday night, so I'm gonna tell you the truth. A lot of this process is performance. Let me say it again for the people multitasking in the back. A lot of this doctoral process is how you perform being a doctor. When I say that, it's like when you set an agenda like this, part of it is a performance. Like you are saying, this communicates, hey, I'm serious about this process. I'm serious about getting to a defense or to graduation. Because when you're showing up and you're just prepared and you have thought through these questions and you thought through like a lot of faculty are gonna be like, oh, that's a great question. I didn't even think about telling you that. I'm gonna use this for my other students. When you in that ballpark, oh, like not y'all are best friends. Because again, you're making their job easy. But this is communicating to you. Like this shows a different, this is like as a more confident student. This is a student who's like, no, I'm committed to this process. Just because you show up to their office and you say you're committed, humans go by actions. They go less by words, they go more by actions. This is a great action. You sending an email every week, a great action to say, nope, I'm committed. You submitting something for feedback every month, amazing. You meeting with them every month, great. Because the average student hides from their chair, avoids communicating with their chair, and only wants to communicate with their chair when they feel like the draft or the proposal or the dissertation is perfect. And so you go ghost for months or years. And as humans, we're going to assume the worst. We're going to assume that you don't care, you're not committed, you're not doing work. But if you are showing up in my inbox every week, if I see your face every month, oh, I know you're committed and I'm more willing to help you. Okay, let me get off the soapbox. Thoughts or questions about this, if any? You feel that way about academia in general? I feel that way about life in general. I feel like people just be performing all over the place.
So I do have a question about this because I know, like with my chair, he does want it to be perfect. He wants me to wait until I have everything done before I send him anything. And I don't know if that's like because you were saying earlier, because he's done giving me the courtesy of giving me feedback, or if it's just, how he does things. Because I've talked to other students who have had him as a chair, and they were telling me they were meeting with him weekly. And so even I'm still on my medical leave until the summer, but I'm trying to get my proposal together before that, so that way I have something to give to him. And as a matter of fact, I've been trying to finish it all, not all of it, but like everything that I can put together, the shitty version, by spring break, so that I can have a version to give to him as for him to look over before I get to summer. and probably write another draft for him or have another draft edited for him or whatever. So I don't know. I don't know what the difference is between me and other students, I guess, is what I'm trying to figure in that sense.
In general, here's some things I think about when people say like, oh, don't submit anything to me until it's completely done or perfect. That's when I'm like, please define your words. Like, what does that mean? What exactly do you want to see? Because when you push that question back, they're like, oh, yeah, you don't use general language because I don't, what does that mean? Because now you're in your mind trying to figure out what perfect is. And usually a student's idea of perfect or done is not what the faculty means. Usually what they're saying is they want to see a full draft. But as a student, and when you take in consideration the power dynamic, what that sounds like as a student is, oh, this needs to be defense ready. When what they meant is, I just wanted a full draft. And so then to go more directly to your question, usually when I, and you were talking about this, but usually what I see when a chair is saying, don't send me anything else until it's done, it's usually because a student is showing up either consistently or inconsistently with like a paragraph here, a page here. And from the student perspective, you're doing that because you want to make sure you're doing it right. You want to make sure you're on the right track. You don't want to put in all of this time and effort into writing a whole chapter if you're way off base of how you're supposed to do it. But from your faculty or your chair's perspective, they're like, writing is writing. You're going to go through multiple drafts. And so I just want you to go through I want you to do your due diligence to getting a full draft. Everybody hear me. 99.9% of your faculty expect that your first draft that you give them is shit. So even though they may use words like make sure it's perfect and it's good to go, in their mind, they are expecting to give you significant feedback on whatever it is that you're sending to them. So I am saying that to say that it's not meant for it to be perfect. It's meant that you did a draft. It's a polite way usually of saying you just need to trust yourself and be confident because you're a doctor and I'm not here to hold your hand. If I'm going to speculate in particular about your chair, I think it's more around maybe there's like not interest in the topic, or maybe y'all have different ideas in terms of like philosophies or values around research and who gets to be focus of the research, or like how you think about adjunct faculty, right? And so I think he feels maybe professionally he can't say to you, go find you another chair, or maybe there's not another option. I don't really know the situation.
I honestly don't.
Yeah.
I mean, we've had faculty, I've had chairs change because mostly they've left.
Yeah.
So.
And so he just may not be as excited. But this is where I get into my petty bag and I'm like, oh, I will get on your nerves.
Right.
I will bombard you with communication. And so I would give him a full draft and be like, that is perfect. Tell me what's not perfect about it. Like, that's how I was sending the email of like, what do I need to do to this draft to prepare it for defense? And because he's already in this mode, then I'm assuming would be more motivated to articulate to you clearly what you need to do so that y'all can move forward. I want to say to you too, that I've seen in my experience, Melissa, that situations that start off this way, by the time you get to the other side, the final defense, y'all are BFFs. And I know you probably can't imagine that right now with how things have been going.
Right.
But once the momentum picks up in the dissertation and they understand, like he understands more of where you're coming from and why you were saying certain things, he ends up being your biggest cheerleader. Like that, I see that way more than you would think.
Yeah, and I don't think he's completely like uninterested in my topic, or I don't think he's like uninterested in me graduating. I don't feel it's malicious. I'm just like, I don't understand why I have to give you a full completed draft and you're walking someone almost like paragraph by paragraph and going through with them. And I understand that maybe, and I do know that me and this other person we're different. We do write I can write, and I know this person couldn't. And so this was an issue that I was like, well, but I need the help too. I need the guidance too.
Now you know where I'm going next.
Yeah.
Are there other reasons? Identity-based reasons why?
Yeah, probably.
That's real. Because
Yeah.
that's why I keep naming they're humans.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. And
Sure.
I'm not saying that that's not all like hard. I'm sure that's incredibly challenging for you. And what if it's also not personal? I'm not gonna use the word malicious. Personal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I feel that, and we definitely don't have philosophical agreement on why I wanted to focus on like the structures and why we're doing these things this way. He's like, no, leave it out. He's like, why do we need to talk about neoliberalism? We don't need to talk about that. I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Because I thought we were talking about the structure of why we have the system we have. Like, what do you mean?
Oh no, see, and that's why I'd be like, no, everybody needs to define their words because we all mean
Right.
different things. And I don't know the other person, if the other person is just going in and doing exactly what he's telling them to do. That could also be a factor. Because y'all, like, you know, I talk a lot about this, especially in the 10 pages retreat. Your chair, like how this system was created, is you're just supposed to do what they told you to do.
Yeah.
You got to jump through all the hoops to figure out what it is that they told you to do. And then once you figure that out, you need to do exactly what they told you, how they told you.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, though. I'm sure
No,
that
I
is.
mean, you know,
Yeah. And you know what I'm going to say from an astrology point of view? The life of a Leo rising, constantly been in these situations, you know?
Very true.
Yes. What you got for us, Dr. Wiley?
I was gonna say sending supportive vibes to Melissa. I do understand to a degree because I started last week going to my chair's right with us now. And it's also the fact that my chair now has 3 other people. One of them is a postdoc, but he's a part of the group per se. And all of them are Asian and or Korean, which my advisor is Korean. And part of that was also because when my chair quit and the other person didn't respond and I sent the email asking for help, she was the only one I believe that volunteered, or at least that's the way it feels. And she does do some race stuff, but it's more like analyzing books, and that's totally what. And very children's literature, and so all the Harry Potters and the Green Gate, she just they go all out. I mean, I've read those books, but I'm not writing about that. So, and maybe I should. I'm thinking about doing the TV version, like to tell you all my thoughts. And how they messed it up, but it's hard because I do have a point. It's hard because I think about like, well, one of the people at the writing groups is literally in the classes portion, and I think, man, where she's gonna be in the sense of writing with her when it gets to her qualifying exam is a space that I was never in because I never had that. But it's also different because I did have that in the library because I struggled with getting things published. And my boss, who since retired, Bill Michaud, and then also 2 other, colleagues who are now full professors, they literally sat with me and did what you said. When my writing groups would fall apart, they'd be like, all right, Chris, we're going to be your writing group. You write and we'll edit. And they taught me, and Bill did the same, about how to get an article published, and it started going better. But that level of mentorship or level of advice, like just like that, is kind of like what I had hoped for with the chair. And that is not some of it. Like I said, my chair does provide, comment, copy edits, but it really feels like Dr. Travis is my chair because he writes in this area, except it's white trans people, white queer, white non-binary. But we're still not talking necessarily the same thing. And because whiteness is a bit different, which it does become a bit tensions only because the power dynamics over here, I'm not associate professor Chris Wiley in the library. I'm the student. And so and I'm also learning how to write to this audience, but it's also, you feel like my petty is high, like in the comments when he was telling me that I need to push back on an argument about visibility in TV shows. And I really had to take some time, like weeks, to really figure out how to respond to that, because I really wanted to tap him on his shoulder, like, T.S. Madison and Craig Writer Stewart do a bag talk and be like, but friend, when I'm talking about what I didn't see, I'm saying I'm thinking trans, queer, gay identity in shows like The Cosby Show, Family Matters, because those were the family types that were around me in my neighborhood, in my church. Not necessarily queer as folk, not necessarily Noah's Ark, not necessarily Post. I'm not saying they did not exist.
Yeah.
I'm saying that's what my argument is, but really trying to figure out how to say it. I was like, I'm gonna let it go. And I just went with, I don't agree completely with this perspective, but I do agree with the part that there's limited or problematic views within intersectionality, and just leave it at that. But it's hard because a lot of times you're trying to figure out this figure out process, and nobody is really telling you that. They're just like, I just figured it out. I just figured out. And I'm like, but how? Who won't tell me how? Because all this writing we doing in this proposal, we didn't do that when I wrote for a paper for a class. We didn't do that when I wrote for an article. And I'm not saying tell me how to do mine, but is there like something you can give me on tips? And then, everybody go on mute. So that's just something.
They understand the meat challenge at that point. I would say this is going to sound overly simple, but when people are saying I just figured it out, what they're saying is I kept writing draft after draft until somebody told me it was good enough to move forward. And that was them figuring it out, because things won't truly lock into place until after you do your final defense. And then you'll be like, oh, they made that more complicated than it needed to be. But in the meantime, while you're like trying to build your way up there, it is writing draft after draft, which can be frustrating when you didn't have to do that in your courses.
Well, and I don't mind, like, okay, take away the neoliberalism is going to make my life simpler. Honestly, it's going to make my writing simpler too, because I don't have to talk philosophy or origins of all of that stuff either. And that was the agreement we came to, was to simplify things. But then he's turning around going, maybe you want to do like a mixed methods. And I'm like, no, I don't want to do a mixed methods. I want to graduate and be done.
Yes. Yes.
He told me, I mean, because I had surgery in July, and he's like, just get back to me when you're, and I'm trying to complete the draft so that he has it, so that I'm not, I've been working on it. It's just it takes me time, because it just takes all the lifing things too. But yeah.
I'm coming off of this year. Okay. When we think about the current climate we're in, the current socio-political climate we're in, as well as in general, a lot of you and how you talk about research, how you understand the ways like systems intersect with your different populations or topics, you expect that your faculty is on the same page with you, and they're not. Even if you are in like what is currently or used to be a social justice based program. Let me be more direct in saying, when you are trying to like brainstorm, like I think about this and I think it connects with this, and you're calling in all these theories and the literature that you've read, what that sounds like to the faculty is like you're speaking so far over their head, and it's, I'm gonna date myself, like the Charlie Brown womp 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 womp. Like they don't hear what you're saying, and it sounds, or if they do hear what you're saying from a research perspective, it sounds very idealistic. It sounds like you're not rooted in the real world, and you're talking about all this like DEI based content that ain't got nothing to do with how we taught you how to do research. The decision on the table is, what hard do you want? Because this is going to be hard. Do you want the hard of going back and forth with people and trying to prove your point and like this is this and this is a real thing? Or do you want the hard of doing a very basic, boring dissertation and handling your emotions around that? Like I said, they both are hard. It's like, which hard do you want? When I say write a basic, boring dissertation, so if I go to you, Melissa, it is as simply as what are the experiences of part-time faculty, their onboarding experiences, meaning I'm going to interview 20, 30 of them, and we're going to write that up and we're going to keep it cute and move it on. I ain't talking about no oppression. I ain't talking about how the system is unfair and you're profiting off of cheap labor. I ain't going to talk about none of that. I'm going to talk about that later when I go to publish in my journals and present at conferences. But for this dissertation, I'm going to just keep it real cute and vanilla. What is your experience? I'm going to do, oh, you want me to do a phenomenology? Just sounds good. I'm going to do that. I'm not about to fight you. I want to graduate. Usually when y'all are saying do a basic boring like when you hear me say doing a basic boring dissertation, you think I'm trying to say like cheapen the quality of your work. No, I'm trying to get you to understand that this is still a system at the end of the day that we all chose to participate in. And because we chose to participate in there, we can't be going in there and telling them people they need to change their system. They built the system for a reason. You can make some changes. Make changes as a doctor, though. For right now, get your degree. Get the graduation. Stop trying to do both at the same time. Okay, thank you for letting me go on my little side rant. Hi, Remy. Hi, Remy. Is that a cat? A bunny?
That's a bunny. What the bunny do? There you go.
Good job. Good job. Remy, you're growing. You are growing.
Seriously. At least 6 inches since August.
Okay, all right.
Oh, it's good seeing you.
One more. What the dinosaur say?
That was quick. I love it. We're going to know all the animals. Thank you. Okay. I know I like took the thing down. Okay, where are we now? Any other thoughts that are coming up? Because now we in it. The rest of the document just tells you how to, when you're reaching out to your separate committee members, how to be clear and asking them like, hey, I would love for you to serve on my committee. Here's what this is the role I'm asking you to generally play. And here's what the time commitment would look like or the different requirements. And then there's some other templates around emails. Remember, use these templates, whether it's for communicating with your committee, the chapter guides, y'all put that in somebody's AI with your shitty draft and let it help you. Okay. Okay. All right. I wanted to save time to see if any folks had any questions, whether it's about committee or anything related to dissertation, if anyone needed any assistance around next steps of moving forward.
I don't know the comment.
Okay.
I was going to say, I don't think I put a lot of real intention into my committee members, but none of them are like the subject matter. But one of the things that I did, I think is cool, is create a community advisory board for my dissertation research. So I still kind of get the input from like people in the field and people that the social problem affects, with none of like the obligation of like having an additional committee member. So that's helpful. And I have my last meeting coming up with them and to show them my findings, and we're gonna talk through my implications. All done. Okay. All done. I need more space. Okay, that's what I want to say.
Oh, I love it. Yes. That's a great idea. And so if y'all didn't hear that, she has an advisory board where it gives you more freedom in who you can select to help you and guiding you through this process. And so there are practitioners, mainly practitioners on this advisory board who are rooted within the communities in which she is communicating with participants. And so they can give a different perspective or maybe a more nuanced perspective than maybe the committee can because they're more on the ground and with the people. And so that is a great way to give yourself some more feedback without it being tied to if you can move forward in the process or not. Right? They're truly in an advisory capacity. Thank you. Thank you for that. Just thoughts and prayers as I send more drafts. I have a committee of true academics with limited beliefs and structure. And Kristen, you are still the one who is going to be the most knowledgeable. And you're going to be trying to get them to do more than they're going to be asking of you. And so, we've been talking about this, but, this is your weekly reminder. You got to let this be easy. And I know that goes against everything about who you are. And lead them people alone and let you get to graduation.
I know, but I'm still caught up on the fact that this woman gave me handwritten comments, bro. Like, what decade is this?
Listen, she like, why, if the system ain't broke, why would I change it? You people with your digital stuff.
On this video call with her, trying to hold my face because, bro, we are not on this call going line by line because you didn't tell me that you hand wrote these. We work down the street from each other. I could have picked this up.
That would be very nostalgic for me to get a document back with handwritten comments. I don't want to do the work of trying to decipher handwriting, but nostalgic.
I think that's what I'm gonna have to do. When I send her this email tomorrow, Dr. Norm, do you want to just go get coffee and you can just give me your notes, or I can just come by your office hours? So literally, we're on the call for an extra 40 minutes because she's on page 2, on the first sentence of the second paragraph. I'm like, bro, what is happening here?
Meanwhile, back at the ranch, people want that type of feedback. People looking for that type of feedback. But no, I would be like, girl, you don't have to do this. I can read. Thank you. Bye. I also think, Kristen, she's excited. Because think about your earlier conversations.
It's hard for me to read her. I think that's the part that's difficult. It's difficult for me to get a sense of are we here so we don't get fined? Are we excited? It's
wait a minute. Nobody's about to sit with you and go through 40 minutes worth of comments if they are not excited or if they're just wanting to be there so they don't get fined. Nobody's doing that. You would have got that document. That document would have said, sounds good, keep writing. That's how you know people are here and they don't want to get fined. The fact that she I don't even know what the right word is. She wrote out the comments and she went through it with you. No, she's excited because she didn't know what you was talking about at first. And then you gave her a whole proposal in a few weeks. She's excited.
The opposite of love isn't hate, it's apathy. And if she did not care, she was not writing no feedback by hand on 40 pages of document. Come on, girl. The fact that she wants to go line by line with you shows you she cares. Whether you want her to care is a whole nother animal, but
I'll take the care. It's just hard. It's like I said, it's just hard to read her as we were doing it. And I was I didn't leave the call feeling any type of way, but it was hard to sense. On a scale of 1 to 10, where do you fall on the we are excited for Kristen meter? Because it just, her body language and expressions were just very difficult for me to pick up.
I also want to name for you that I'm assuming that the other reason why this is probably challenging for you to know if she's excited is because you're this is not even that deep. This is not even the project I wanted to do. This is a fraction of it. And so you can't be impressed by this. And what if she is? What if she is?
So she was just when she said something about the auto acknowledgement on the call, I was like, first of all, we're not going back down that road. And second of all, this is the same thing.
Yeah.
This is the same thing.
Yeah, but you put it in a language that she can understand, which is why she had comments. Last time she was ready to like give up being your chair. She was like, maybe you need to go find you somebody else. And now she giving you like substantial feedback. It's a difference.
That's fair. That's fair.
Anybody else? How are we doing on our one thing for February?
I just wanted to say thanks for the feedback on my post. Like folks who liked it, I was hella frustrated, but
Yeah.
it's going better.
Okay.
I feel like I released that into the universe, and then somehow we're down in the last 2 days. So I appreciate y'all.
Yeah. And I just wanted to get clear because that was going to change what else I said to you in terms of responding to that post, right? Because y'all, like, my background is student affairs, and how I think is this common practice or do we need to escalate it? And I want to make sure that y'all understand that you have options, because a lot of grad students, especially doc students, don't realize that you have formalized support on campus. And often the program or the faculty will try to get you to go through the academic side of the house, meaning go talk to the program coordinator or go talk to the dean of the college. But faculty are going to help faculty in general. Now, this is me, this is my bias, what have you. But my experience, faculty are going to help faculty. If you need support where people are not being responsive, you have tried multiple ways, you did the wellness check, going back up to you, Michelle, you've done everything that you can do. If you're only using the resources in the academic side, you will hit a ceiling. People will just keep sending you in a circle. If you ever have to escalate it, go to the dean of students. There's a graduate person somewhere. You can go to the graduate school, but there are folks whose whole job it is to help you navigate this process, because now we're getting into power dynamics and we're getting to just the culture of the institution. And it is not, you don't have to do this alone, pretty much is what I'm saying. So I was just, Courtney, I was just trying to get a sense of, is this just like your chair not managing time well, or is this something more serious? But it sounds like it's more about time management.
No, I appreciate that. I know I have a student affairs background, and now I'm in academic affairs, and that's why I was like, I'm trying to trust the process and not apply too much pressure, because I know how that is. Like, they're probably in the back talking about it if I put too much pressure. But actually, my methodologist had a medicine circle tonight for folks that she's working. This is part of like how I found these folks too.
Okay.
I pretty much picked the only Indigenous faculty member, and then somebody who understood other parts of my topic, even though we don't share the same cultural identities. But
Recording stopped.
I appreciated the comment that you said today about like, you don't have to have the feedback in hand if they're scheduling to move you forward. That's sort of their way of saying, okay, we're good to go.
Yeah.
So I feel better about that. So thanks.
And also, remembering those who do not subscribe to Western ways of being, what is a deadline? What is a timeline? Like, we just hear love and like feelings, vibes. It'll get done. That's very frustrating when you're like, it's gonna get done. Don't worry about it. So thank you. And I'm glad that you took time for yourself, and you reached out to be like, this is what's going on with me, y'all. Because a lot of times we just need to give voice to what's happening, whether we get a solution or not. It's usually just helpful to name a thing. I was on my own coaching call with my coach earlier, and I said, I just need to be a client, because I have to remind her I'm a client. Okay, I'm gonna say something ridiculous, so you need to remember I'm a client. And I'm like, yeah, girl, I just want to quit every day. I don't even know what I'm doing. Do I know what I'm doing? Because Trader Joe's I'm back there, y'all. I'm like, Trader Joe's is calling. The Hawaiian shirt is calling, girl. Like, I don't have to make no decisions. I just get to go to the work and I get to do the thing, because I don't really think I don't know. I'm like, the universe got other plans. And I was just talking about how, like, I just don't feel like imposter syndrome is real deep right now. I don't feel like anything I'm doing is working. I just need to call it a wrap. And she was like, okay, are you done? No, but I will be, so we can move on with the coaching session. So sometimes we just got to name a thing. Okay. I felt better after I did it. I know I'm being ridiculous, but I had to say it out loud.
Okay. This Trader Joe's thing, girl.
Hawaiian shirts. Okay.
You are sending me the way that I was sending you talk about being moderately active. Okay.
Cookie butter. Chips with pickles and ketchup.
You can still wear Hawaiian shirts on the call.
Right.
No, it's not the same. It's not the same. Like, every time I go there, people are happy. That's what I'm like, they happy. They make small talk. Like, you happy enough to make small talk with every person who come through the line. Like, it must be a joy to work here.
Do we have to start buying you cookie butter?
Right? No, I don't need the cookie butter.
Get the petition going around. It'll be with that.
I think we could come up with a system. I get 1 week, someone else will get another week.
No, my new obsession is like, maybe I need to go work at a bookstore. Yeah, I like to entertain these things because the pressure is real. I'm like, ooh, a bookstore. What if I just
listen? There is something about that bookstore smell though that, for whatever reason, opens my wallet.
Barnes & Noble used to be the happiest place on earth. I don't know what it is about the books.
Coffee and books. What more could you ask for? Yeah, we just have to say it, y'all. I let it go. I'm here, y'all. But I just sometimes I'm like, yes. Chris, you submitted it. Wait, how do you feel? It's February, yes.
I feel relieved and I feel nervous because I did follow your advice, Dr. Khalid's advice, because I use ChatGPT as an editor to edit in the role. So of course, being anal Tom, I'm sorry for the visual on that. I was just terrified that they're gonna throw me out the program and say that I didn't write none of this shit. That was in my head, Even though I read through it, I'm like, that is my work.
Yeah.
This original thought. Now, some things are new, and being the librarian, I did go make sure it's a real citation. So I did, and then but it's still like I'm scared because I think what I'm most scared about is the theoretical framework. Because I went back on them, and it's kind of like I threw my reading list in their face. Through it all, and I'm talking about Blackness and my original question about what does it mean when we view Blackness as a problem ideologically and technologically. And I went and found the researchers, and they mixed it with both interdisciplinary as well as people that are in information science. So I hope that it makes sense because other than some of the questions, I'm like, I don't know if it really speaks to that because they said, oh, go read other dissertations. Well, every dissertation doesn't necessarily have a separate section for theoretical frameworks. And the ones that I read that did, well, when I tried to say exactly what they said, it was a problem, which also shows me that my advisor was a reviewer on that one. So my friend Jessie is not the same as when she's the chair. So I was like, Jessie's doing teens in Black academic libraries. So she is using critical race theory as one of her theories. So I'm like, I just went and just started explaining, and they like transition sentences and no abruptness. So I use ChatGPT. So yes, I'm still nervous. I know they got it, but they haven't responded yet. But I'm gonna see them tomorrow at the writing group because I go to get all the news of what's really going on and watch her interaction. So I learn more about her. It's on my own, informal research because she's real cool with all of them. They have her phone number. I do not. So I don't need to call her. I'm just a note. I just be noticing. Just noticing how this goes. So,
no, you sounded like Melissa. I'm just noticing other people getting treatment that I'm not getting.
So I said, I'm gonna go to this writing group because I need to work on my IRB.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna do that tomorrow. And then I gotta do some library stuff related to my annual reviews. I'm just use it as my writing time for that. But relieved.
Okay, Chris, let's go back to these transition sentences, okay? Because it sounds like a lot of their feedback isn't necessarily about the content itself or the citations themselves as it is about explaining. And what can be challenging, y'all, especially if you have a topic that is close to your own like past experiences or current experiences or something that you are more intimately familiar with because you live it on a day-to-day basis.
Mhm.
The things that they would be asking you to explain feels very obvious. And so it may not come natural to you to be like, oh, I should probably explain what I mean by that. It may feel like busy work, rambling.
Right.
But and when you are writing, especially in an academic sense, you're writing for a reader who has never heard of your topic, who has never even considered that this could be a thing.
Mhm.
Which is mean you're going to be writing at a one-on-one level. So what does trans mean? What does it mean to be a trans man? Why are we talking about race if we're talking about gender? Right? Like explaining like questions that may feel like basic in that way. And you're like, we didn't even get to the core of the topic yet. Yes. That's mostly, oh, go ahead.
And that's when I took it down to that.
Mm-hmm.
It was like, I haven't even, so I really started with this version really smoothing it out and really going down. So when I say transgender, I mean this. When I say cisgender, I mean this. You know, when I'm saying, you know, the problem with the internet viewing everyone is white, or at least like trans. I give like specific examples, and I went and found the information science people, the names they know that name it, and I'd be like, this. Be like, so we can stop talking about it. But I'm aware, and I also deal with their projections because they have some grants that are out, and they're concerned with will they get funding for that. And I'm like, I'm not necessarily seeking funding for this, but I get it. It's a real thing. As far as like, you know, how are people gonna really react to this? Because when you do your proposal, you do it for the entire department, and you know, everybody is not always pro Chris, or pro this topic, even if it's not me. So I already, you know, and then plus my old advisors, they might show up, you know, because everybody shows up for everybody. That's just, you know, unless it's early in the morning or it's for the really, really sciencey ones. Now those have a set people, but those are people who only study, you know, that. So, but I have noticed for all the Black people, the whole campus show up. You be like, I just noticed on 2 people. I was like, okay, so.
Listen, you are in Southern Illinois. No, we showing up for everybody. Okay. What do you do when you have like an emotionally challenging day? Like when your nervous system is like, nah, I don't want to see not another person. I'm over it. I'm about to quit. What do you do to calm yourself?
Bubble bath.
Okay. I love your answers. Okay, bubble baths. Wait, what else was it?
Smoke cigars.
Cigars. Okay, a good meal, maybe.
Yeah, or I watch something that I've seen that makes me happy. I gotta stop watching Sweet Magnolias because I've seen it other than the new season, so I gotta find something else. Grey's Anatomy got on my nerves because I've seen those. So I'm watching the Great British Baking.
Oh, okay.
Because at least I'll be like, I did that. I'm not a baker, but this is interesting. So I go watch that or some cooking show and watch. Like I like the Grocery Games or Chopped. So I watch that.
Now, don't get me high watching Chopped. I'm in the kitchen being like, this is my show. This is my episode. Okay, what do you do when you get?
You know, get into the show that Eric Adjapong just started. It's like all the chefs are betting against each other to do a competition, but it's like Chopped meets Grocery Games meets betting, and it's amazing. Like I love the show. Yeah. Anyway, if you want to nerd out about food shows, I'm here for it.
What do you do when you are pissed off? I know this is rare, but when you are pissed off, what do you do?
Oh, I make voice recorded notes or
Okay.
videos, and then I hit delete.
Okay. Anything else?
I do share those. I had this other group. They're the Black queer non-binary psychologist people. So they're the people who will, at least in the chat, ride with you and Dawn. You're right. They'll be bad with you. And then they'll give me all the therapeutic things the next day or later in the week. But yeah.
So here's what I want you to do. I don't know if you have anything planned for Monday or Tuesday, but in the making of your plan, let's just go ahead and put in a bubble bath on Monday, maybe meet with a friend that you feel safe. Like you can go somewhere off campus that's safe so that you can vent, or go ahead and make sure your laptop is charged or whatever you use to record. Okay. Because I want you to emotionally prepare for the feedback that your writing needs to be more explicit and that we need even more transition sentences. Okay. This is an assumption. Now, best case scenario, you don't need this. And it's great. You can just go about your day. Worst case scenario, it's already there. You don't got to think. And the reason why I'm coming here, not because it's not about like, my belief in you. Of course, I believe in you. And of course, like I trust that you understand what to do. I just know that in general, because we're not taught to write in this very academic, prescriptive way, the thing that takes people out when they get to where you are in the feedback phase of this proposal and wherever even if this was the final dissertation for some of you, you're going to be ready to fight your chair and your committee at this stage because, right, you have written multiple drafts of this. Y'all have multiple conversations. And in your mind, you are preparing to get to your defense so you can enjoy your sabbatical and move on. But this is where you're thinking it's going to be like smooth sailing. This is where committees and chairs can get more nitpicky. Because before the conversation was around the content or making sure the research design was good to go. Now the conversation is switching to, is your writing clear? Is your writing where it needs to be? And because we're not taught to write in this way, right? Academic writing says, tell them what you're going to tell them what you told them. If that doesn't come natural to you, it's going to feel very redundant and repetitive while you're writing, and your brain will be like, I'm bored, skip. But then when you go to submit the draft and they give you feedback, they're going to be like, what does this mean? Define this. So I was just listening to you and saying like how you're responding to this round of feedback. I want you to expect even more of that. Now your brain might be like, there's no more for them to do that too. You'll be surprised. So
I did start even before you said that. When I hit submit, I said, this is where you're gonna get comments that they might not have had a comment in those set of paragraphs before, but but I did write down that question about asking, because they say, read more dissertations, but you said something about what is a dissertation that met your expectations. I've not asked that before. So I said, I'm definitely gonna bring that up tomorrow in their little small talk or maybe later.
Yeah.
To ask, what is one that's an example of what you think meets expectations.
Yeah. And I would say like, and you can even frame it as give me like a past student's dissertation to look up that you enjoyed being a part of their committee or chairing. Because that'll give you some indicators too of like which dissertation, when they say go read other people's dissertations. And then you can make a little jokey joke. You can be like, girl, why everybody got your number except me? You don't want me to have your number? Right, now that you plan on using it could be playful, right? It probably didn't even occur to her. She probably is just out here trying to survive, scratching and surviving, But for everyone, when you go to submit something for feedback, I don't care if you do feel good about it. Go ahead and set yourself up for afterwards. Because what did I say? Your nervous system doesn't know the difference. And so you will need to regulate yourself every time you submit something for feedback, every time you receive the feedback, because your nervous system doesn't speak in logic. It's like, that is life or death. I don't want to touch it. So what can you do to bring yourself back to baseline? Right? If it's watching Sweet Magnolias, okay. If it's bubble bath, okay. If it's, yelling and raging into your phone, okay. If it's going out with a friend, I'm just saying put it on the schedule. Don't say if I need it, I'll do it then. Just go ahead and assume you do need it. And if you get to that day and you don't, then cancel. But it's better to have it there than to not have it.
I submitted a full qual draft yesterday.
Are you just gonna casually do that? Yeah.
I did. I submitted it yesterday.
Oh, I just casually wrote a beautiful chapter.
I feel decent. I feel decent about it though.
Mm-hmm.
So I already put all the notes that, like, for her to respond to. Like, I think I want to add this here. I think I want to add that here. You might have comments about this. So that's kind of one way I get ahead of my anxiety of like,
yeah.
I already know. I already know.
I also think about your chair, and I'm sure that helps her.
Because this is my plan for addressing why I didn't put this here. So that kind of helped ease my anxiety. And I put in the chat, I have a March 19th defense date though. Let's figure out.
You have a March 19th defense date.
March 19th, 3:35 Central Time.
Okay, I'm gonna go put that on my calendar. I'm excited. It's done. Listen, the amount of research you did, I wish somebody would say something, okay? Because the way I would.
The findings chapter, I didn't include all my findings. That's what part of like what I was telling her. A whole nother like thing I really want to say. And that stuff that is 800 to 700 words. I was like, it's huge. So I still got this whole other findings chapter. So I was like, this a lot. You
and Camille got the spirit. I think Camille said her findings chapter right now is 97 pages. I said, no, ma'am. Nobody's reading that. No, ma'am. No. Which is very normal, y'all. I do want to normalize that.
No, that's gonna be me because I got a whole nother findings chapter right.
But that's different, right? Like Camille, you know I love you if you're watching this. She has 6 participants, and I know that the stories were rich. But you had like what 30 interviews. You had your own 3 to 5 interviews, and you have a whole survey. That would make sense why you would have so much to share. Okay, y'all. Thank y'all for such a beautiful conversation tonight. We will meet again tomorrow. I need to go sleep. Sunday for planning. And then, of course, we'll have our Write With Us sessions. I believe I am teaching how to start a podcast on Wednesday. I think is my schedule. And then I think Thursday is writing. And
because you're going to be in Florida.
Yeah. So then we'll do the last week of February and go into the 10 pages in 2 days writing retreat, March 1st and March 2nd. Y'all, March is going to be a good time. So I hope you are prepared. And think about right now for everybody, your homework is, what do you need to ground yourself when life starts lifing and the news gets louder and people start being ridiculous? What are you going to use to ground yourself? You can start a notes in your phone or document. What are the go-to things that I could do to help myself regulate? Sometimes that's going to be scrolling. Sometimes that's going to be sleeping. Sometimes it's going to be just going outside. Okay. But just start a list. It doesn't have to be an exhaustive list, but you want a list that you can go to, because now I'm speaking from an astrology point of view. Things are going to happen in March and April. You're going to want a list to go to be like, now, what do I do to calm down? Because this is wild. So please start that list. All right, y'all. That's not meant to scare you. Sometimes successful, like when positive things happen, we get dysregulated. So, and I know it's Pisces season. So all my Pisces friends, like Kristen, your birthday's coming. All right, y'all. Let me know if you need anything in circle, but I will see y'all on Sunday. Good night, y'all. Bye.